Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today in a proper pro level match we're going to be taking a look at a 3 versus 3. A 3v3 played by 6 total talented commanders on the brand new map Cells, is that what this is called? Yeah, Cells 1.2. Still learning all the maps and whatnot. To this day, Bloodier going to be our blue team leader, clocking in at 50 open skill, star chevrons as well, going to be taking charge of the blue team here and showing us what he's got in this, like I said, 3 versus 3. A little bit smaller than the games that I usually cast, but I do like to go down to some of the smaller team games every once in a while, because it's where we tend to see some of the most coordinated play in the entire game. So, spawning as the Cyan Commander just south of Bloodier, it's going to be none other than Leela. She's going to be going into a Cortex bot lab right here, also as a Cortex Commander, and rounding out the blue team, our green hero, it's going to be none other than Club, spawning as an Armada Commander and all the way on the southern side of the map. Spawning on the other side, spawning as the red team leader, it's going to be none other than Pro Autopilot, clocking in at 50 open skill as well, tied with the blue commander. My goodness, these games are getting out of control as far as the open skill values go. I get so excited when I watch the pros play these little games, because always it pulls out the very most advanced strategies that you're ever going to see in a game of Beyond All Reason. So it is definitely a treat to get to watch these. The orange commander here going to be Ural, spawning north of the red commander there on the southern side, and all the way on the northern side it's going to be none other than Narnak. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the red team is entirely Cortex. So no Armada tech here available. All 3 of the red commanders are going to be Cortex. Means that no sharpshooters, no starlights, no EMP missiles, none of that business. It's going to be raw Grunt and Sheldon and Fiend power for today. The blue team, at the very least, with a little bit of variance here, with Club going as an Armada Commander and going to be going for some of those very cheap early ticks to go across the map and try and do a little bit of damage, but otherwise Cortex for the rest of the blue team. Very cool to see. Now, Cells is typically an 8 versus 8 map. There's 8 spawn locations here, so it does mean that each of these commanders is going to be allocated more than double the amount of resources that they normally would. Means that I'm going to be expecting multiple labs or really early T2s from all of these commanders here as they start to expand outwards. And you can see that just how massive this map is too makes it really difficult to get aggression done on the other side of the map. These grunts that have been headed across the map for a good long while are just finally getting their way to the midway point. The Cyan Commander, Layla, sending a couple of those grunts forward as well, and just barely are they on the red side of the map at this point. It's one of those things, right? The rush distance between different areas on maps like this, especially the 8v8 maps, but even some of the smaller team maps. When they get so large, the T1 units can really have basically no effect because of just how long it takes them to actually get across the map, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here. But anyways, looks like a single mech will be shut down right here by the blue commander. Nicely done. Blasted down twice, actually, right there. Means the red commander is going to have to restart that metal extractor right here. Oh, hopefully. Whoa. Busy microing means this constructor is waddling away. Yeah, there we go. Has to turn around and go all the way back. It's a little inefficiency, it's a little problem, but it's definitely, it hurts, right? It's a little bit of damage, but a little bit is more than none at all, which is exactly what we've gotten so far right here, with the stellar defense from the Cyan Commander, who's managed to blast back the orange grunts that have come across the map. Green Commander also deflecting one that went around on this right-hand side, and it looks like all these commanders are going to be feeling pretty comfortable going into this here. Now, I noticed that the blue team has all their sliders down, so that indicates to me, at the very least, that they have some sort of communication going on. Typically, you only turn your sliders down if you have a voice chat going on. That way you know 100% what your teammates are actually working on, and you can coordinate a little bit easier. Whereas the if you put those sliders down and suddenly one of your teammates decides to go into T2, well, there goes everybody's economy, and that can be a big problem. Grunt cleaned up nicely in the backline right here. I like the aggression coming out from the blue team, but so far the value has not been found. Yeah, they're looking for it. Still definitely looking for it here, but yellow forces have moved all the way around the map, and this is the first big pick of the game. Construction bot goes down to 2 grunts that have made their way across the northern side of the map and started to apply a lot of pressure to our blue commander here, Bloodier. So if I take a higher perspective here, pretty easy to see how this is stacked against the blue team on the northern side, with Narnak having basically uncontested control of this massive section of the map here. It's going to be a huge economic force to apply pressure behind the blue commander as well as in front of the blue commander. Not to mention, of course, that the orange commander can flex out to this position that the yellow commander would be going in, as well as moving troops southward to go engage against Leela. Autopilot, in sort of a similar vein, is going to have to fight a massive area out here, though, that I guess Club is going to be trying to hold on to. If Club manages to hold on to all that, then of course it could be a tremendous value, but if these grunts can manage to deny all that eco and send it back to the red economy, then it'll provide the resources necessary to actually defend against a lot of this. I'll go ahead and clear the map here as we zoom back in to take a more in-depth look at some of these engagements on the front lines, and it looks like these grunts are performing well here for the Cyan hero. Looks like Layla's going to manage to trade out at least efficiently here, if not slightly more than efficiently, against the orange commander, but as those reinforcements do hit the front, suddenly this battle shifts, and Layla is forced to retreat. Nicely done. These are the kinds of engagements that really add up in the early game. Losing one or two grunts in the early game can add up pretty quickly when suddenly those two grunts are contributing or not contributing to the firepower later on into the match. That's very nice. Just one hero grunt, but it manages to find a resbot and a metal extractor, and it even gets to the constructor right here. Will we be able to kill it in time? Oh, it's going to be close. Nope. No kill on the constructor. Nice defense right there from the red commander. Manages to shut down that grunt and spare the constructor that was building these metal extractors and the LLT over here on this side. That's nicely done. Likewise, red forces moving in on the northern side. Defense is in position, though. Lovely stuff right here from the commanders in this game. Yeah, I feel like they're all on top of it so far. The defense has been phenomenal. Red forces moving up onto this high ground right here. Going to try and park up on this cliff side and utilize that to their advantage. Maybe poking around later. Nope, going to be retreated. Yeah, I think that's fair. That might work in an 8v8 against lower league players, the Metal League players. Against the best of the best here, though. It's going to be pretty rare that you manage to sneak a unit into the enemy midline without them noticing, at least on the radar. Reminds me that it might be worth taking a look at here, the player views, just for redundancy's sake. You can see exactly what each of these commanders is working with here. Bloatier just setting up a radar tower over here by this LLT in order to get a better view of what exactly is going on here, revealing this northern section and expanding northward to try and capture these metal extractors, but more importantly, deny this opportunity path from the yellow player. I think it makes a lot of sense. This is a huge opportunity lane for the yellow player to take advantage of, and I think I would love to see Narnet continuing to apply pressure, and it looks like that's exactly what we are going to see with a whopping, I don't know, 13 or so grunts moving forward on the northern side. It looks like the yellow commander is looking forward to raiding past the defenses right here and directly into the backline. These grunts have managed to do so much damage in the back, peeling apart these constructors and tearing down metal extractors and denying the expansion all over the place here from Bloatier. It's a tremendous way of shutting down the economy is just by not letting it exist in the first place. Seems pretty easy, but easier said than done. LLT on the high ground right here, I like this as well to try and prevent units from coming through this little choke point as well. Bloatier still setting up these LLTs. I like to see it. I think there's enough metal here to spare on static defenses. Setting up a bunch of LLTs everywhere definitely spares you the APM of trying to clean up these messes, like the blue commander is going to have to in the backline right now. Loads of grunts spared for the defense, though, and we have built up a sizable enough army here that the 11 grunts the yellow commander was able to squeak through. Not going to be able to contest the 15, 16, 17-ish blue grunts that have now made their way in this direction for the defense. Nicely done. Well cleaned up here from Bloatier, showing an excellent strategic perspective here. Giving up this path, realizing that there's nothing for these units to kill, and just building the army up over here so that it can be an efficient trade and not having to worry necessarily about fighting too rough of an engagement one by one through the middle of the map. Layla looking to take advantage of this opportunity path here between the orange and red commanders. There are LLTs to guard this, but they're being set up by a constructor, so there's definitely some opportunities. If we manage to squeak some units through, we might be able to snag a kill on the commander. Looks like Layla's just trying to break through with brute force. Okay. Cortex strategy for the win. Looks like the blue forces are going to take a great engagement right here. Actually, a phenomenal concave right there from the blue forces, trading out phenomenally. Ah, what a beautiful trade right there. Showcasing just how powerful that concave is versus the convex right there as tons and tons of these blue forces push forward and manage to blast down basically the entire orange army with not so much as even equivalent losses. My goodness. Getting a little bit overexcited right now. Ah, there they are. Shuriken on the field at this point. The red commander going into a little bit of an air transition. Shuriken now arriving to paralyze as many of these grunts as possible. That's another way to equalize these fights, or unequalize these fights even. Just like that, all these units are cleaned up quite nicely. Airlab going to be quite powerful here for autopilot. As you can see, a lot of solar panel production right here because, well, you've got enough metal to dump into those solar panels. You may as well spend the metal somehow, some way. Although I wouldn't mind seeing some advanced solar panels. Maybe in this corner over here where the build power is strong enough to get them up quickly. And with the energy storage as well, there's definitely enough to keep this up and running. The yellow commander, though, true to the Cortex modus operandi. Operandi? Not entirely sure. It's thugs. It's 100 thugs. Nice counterattack here from the blue commander. Bloatier does send a couple of forces forward to try and push this army to retreat here, but it looks like the yellow commander is just going to commit to the push here, sending forward tons and tons of thugs, trying to break this front line as quickly as possible using those medium plasma bots. Light plasma bots, pardon me. If thugs are light plasma bots, then lobbers have got to be like ultra light plasma bots. Lobbers are the Legion plasma bot, and they're a light plasma bot as well, but even lighter. They cost very, very little metal. I think it's something like 65 metal to build one of those. They're extremely cheap, and they're extremely easy to mass produce. They don't cost very much energy either. They're a really, really spammable unit, but they are pretty bad. I mean, given the fact that they don't trade well, they're bad, but they also, you know, for the relative cost, you can build about 100 of them. It's an interesting kind of playstyle, but one that's a little bit difficult to control, at least when you're used to plasma bots that pack a little bit more wall up like the thugs or even the maces. But it's medium tanks now for the blue commander, and we've gone full sail into these medium tanks, just pumping out as many of these as possible on 40 metal per second. Going to be building as many of these medium tanks as we can to try and storm through the midsection of the map. The brutes are so extremely efficient at trading against bots that it's almost never the wrong decision to go for brutes whenever you're on T1. They tend to have just a phenomenal weight to cost ratio. They're extremely easy to mass produce. And once you have enough metal to start rolling a ton of them out there on the field, you usually can start to steamroll these T1 static defenses without much of a care in the world. And there we go. LLT's falling here. Metal extractor's long gone, and the grunts as well going to be blasted down. Just like that, the medium tanks make it past. Now, shurikens are an interesting counter here, of course. Medium tank's not phenomenal at dealing with shurikens, so the shurikens do help a lot. Not really any air forces either to try and save all this, so these are going to be an excellent solution right here to resolve this tank issue pushing through the midsection of the map. Geothermal coming up right now for Narnak as well. Lovely stuff. Who's going to go for T2 is the question. Looks like the green commander is already on T2, and it looks like the cyan commander is getting up to T2 as well here. Bloodier's still pumping out T1 forces, as many in as fast as possible. T2, however, up and running right now for the orange commander as well. Autopilot also on T2, and it looks like the yellow commander has just gone ahead and stuck around on T1 for a little while until this army is all cleaned up. Gonna go for some resurrection action here, interestingly. Bloodier holding on by the skin of his teeth. Nice communication right here from Indy Club. Oh, maybe they're not in a voice chat then. If they're talking in game, maybe not in a voice chat like they said, or maybe not all of them. But anyways, trying to communicate to make sure that no more reinforcements are needed on this northern side. And that's a great idea, right? I mean, making sure that your commander is in a good spot that you can go ahead and leave them unattended, and you can go ahead and continue expanding your own economies or expanding your production centers. What a brutal T1 wasteland right here in the midsection of the map, the northern midsection of the map. The LLT force coming up right here from the yellow commander is quite nice, of course. Shuts down basically any of these units from pushing forward directly through the middle of that. Even tanks and thugs are going to have a rough time. Anti-air tower set up right here from the blue commander, slowly but surely taking down the Shuriken. Not quick enough, though, to stop this from being a really nice trade from the yellow commander. Very cool. T2 should be out and running very shortly here as well. T2 metal extractors coming up and online right now for our green commander on the southern side. Looks like we also have T2 up and running here for the orange commander on the midsection of the map. A couple of those T2 units rolling out on the field. We do have a Sheldon, we do have a radar jammer bot, we have a couple of Rocketeers here as well. Ultimately, I think it's going to be Fiends and Sheldons and Arbiters that make the difference in this game. Fiends fast enough to actually go do something out on the map, and of course the Sheldon are just tremendous firepower, relatively mobile. They're an excellent force to keep around. Here we go. Anti-air picking apart those shurikens slowly but surely. And eventually, most of these units are going to get de-gunned now. Ah, nice. Okay. I was a little bit hesitant at first, but Narnak managed to de-gun down a lot of those units, utilizing their paralysis, using those Shuriken Blade Wing drones in order to shut down a whole bunch of these, and now Bloodier is left in a really strange situation. Losing a couple hundred metal on the front line doesn't seem like much, but when you add it all up and suddenly it's not in your bank account, it's in the enemy's or nowhere on the field. Suddenly it can be really, really difficult to finance this. Narnak way overstepping here, though. Way overstepping, my goodness. 0% HP. Oh, come on, one more shot. Oh, no. Narnak makes it away with just 20 or so HP. Just barely manages to escape the push from these units. Oh, my goodness. What bait. The yellow commander baiting the entire blue army into this trade right here because of that commander going so low. Oh, one grunt. One hero grunt. They didn't do it. They couldn't do it, ladies and gentlemen. The Shuriken here to paralyze everything, and now the Sheldon are out as well. They're going to do phenomenal damage. Oh my goodness. I can't believe Narnak escaped from that alive. Absolutely no reason Narnak should have gotten away with that. That was a very, very close call right there for the yellow commander. Almost lost one of those very valuable one of 3 commanders on the front line right here, but just barely escapes by the skin of his teeth. And it does mean that the blue commander is going to have the opportunity to reclaim from a gigantic field of metal. That is a whopping 4.5 almost 1,000 metal out in the midsection of the map right here, or the northern section of the map right here for the blue commander. Means suddenly there's going to be a huge opportunity to go directly into T2, even into some of those T2 economic structures, fusion reactors, all that sort of thing. Looks like we do have a fusion reactor coming up on the southern side right here. The blue commander, oh, that wind speed is plummeted, and it means nobody has the energy right now. You can see everybody except for the red commander, who's gone into all those solar panels and now into a fusion reactor, has any energy to actually do anything. Those wind turbines have failed everybody except for those who managed to pivot into fusion reactors before the wind speed plummeted. Big old engagement on the southern side. My goodness, lightning tanks are pretty good, eh? Jaguar's pulling apart all these units right here. Chain reacting that lightning between all these units means that they're going to get huge value every time that they fire. Not only immense damage on the units that they fire at, but of course a little bit of scattering damage onto the enemies nearby. Their anti-air also making them fairly potent at dealing with Shuriken. Hey, nicely done. Nicely done by the green commander. Definitely pleased with the way that that just went. Those Shuriken knocked out of the air by the anti-air missiles mounted atop the backs of the Jaguar mean that the Shuriken are no longer going to be a threat in this game, at least not until the red commander pivots back into it. But there was a gigantic army that was basically ignored on the southern side. Oh no! Club moving his army away, and an excellent little pull right here from the red commander recognizes that, hey, maybe there's a lane to take. Luckily, those medium tanks are pretty quick. Whoa, trying to kill that commander. Nice self-D micro right there. Barely doesn't manage to blow up the commander with the self-D, but Club does stay alive. And again, thousands of metal available for the reclaim. It's going to come down to who manages to push harder to reclaim all that to win this game, I do believe. Meanwhile, it's T1 versus T2 over here, which is quite odd. We do have a whole bunch of res bots repairing up that commander right here. Narnuk standing strong in the face of a whole bunch of overwhelming firepower with his masseuses in the backline. Massaging that commander's muscles back up to full peak strength. Resbots trying to reclaim whatever they can out of this field still. It's lovely stuff for the blue commander, because really every ounce of metal that you reclaim from this is efficient, because as soon as you start fighting those T2s, these T1 units are just never going to be able to pay for themselves the same way that they have in the earlier stages of the game. So even if these resbots go down, which they all will, they've certainly all paid for their own lives several times over. And here we go. Look at that production spam. We've got loads of thugs coming up, which is a bit of an interesting choice. Thug Sheldon spam coming up right here for the blue commander. Perfectly in sync with the yellow commander here. A little bit of a run by. Nicely done. This is the distinguishment between some of the top tier players and some of the best. Sending a couple of these little raiding parties across to try and do a little bit of damage. It's only 4 grunts, but it's really all it takes. There you go. 2 metal per second shaved off of the economy right here for the yellow commander. May look like not very much, but ultimately in the long run it can add up quite quickly. Not to mention, of course, that they're not quite done yet either. There's still more damage to be done in the backline. Lightning tanks, meanwhile, tearing apart this front line here. Looks like we had a little bit of spybot action, a little EMP paralysis, but no longer. Autopilot has not the frontline forces in order to deal with this. Hopefully we see some starlights coming up right here from the green commander. Those would be ideal for dealing with some of those. Oh my goodness, I didn't even realize it. A T3 transition for our green hero on the southern side. Club not looking to play around this game. Instead, says, I think it's time that we go ahead and stop messing around. We're just going to head straight into T3 and start producing some of those heavy hitters. Marauder now rolling out on the field. Heavy Tiger tanks pushing through in the midsection of the map. And the blue team definitely has the distinct tech advantage at this point. With an eco advantage of about 40% here. All depends on the reclaim ever so slightly as well, but with the tech advantage right here, the blue team is dumping all their metal into it, and the more of those T3 units that come out on the field, the more and more efficiently the blue team is going to trade no matter what. Landmine set up over here. Definitely dangerous. Those tanks do have to be careful. A little bit of a commander trade I missed earlier, but pretty easy to read. One commander lying atop the other right there, but all of it will go back to the blue commander Layla, as she reclaims all that juicy commander corpse and feeds it back to the machine. Heavy tanks trying their very best. Flamethrower turret, though, trying even its bester. Pretty nice. The flamethrower turret is one of those few static defenses that really can hold its own even into the T2. Hell, even into T3 it actually can perform decently. Things like Marauder, things like Shiva, if they fall under fire from one of those flamethrower turrets. No pun intended, by the way. They, yeah, they'll actually go down pretty quickly. It's kind of interesting. Heavy tank's pretty good. Ural needs to build mammoths. Those are really the only tool that you have in your toolkit to actually slow down these heavy tanks. They're sturdy enough to deal with them and have enough range and firepower to actually shut them down effectively. Other than that, you need armada. You need sharpshooters, or you need starlights. Or you need just about a billion Sheldon, like we can see up here on this northern side. What a mess of an engagement we've set ourselves up for now. But every time these Sheldon fire, they do blast off a couple % from every unit that they're targeting. Be it a tin can bot, be it a fiend, be it whatever it is. Shuriken's trying their very best. Big open midsection here. I'm wondering why we're not exploiting that a little more. I think the answer might be we're about to. Medium mines here, about to get some value. Yeah, not bad. Landmines managing to scuff up a bunch of these Marauder right here, and with Persecutor cannons set up as well. This is, or pardon me, not Persecutor, Scorpion cannons set up right here. Definitely expensive to push through that section of the map, which is why I think it's wise that the Green Commander has just essentially ignored it entirely. It's the issue with static defense, is that it really doesn't move as well as units do. Marauder now rushing into the backline, firing their little puny anti-air missiles up into the air, but it's enough to shoot down these gunships over time. And just like that, the Marauders have found a ton of value. T3 Lab coming up right now for the Red Commander, but it's stalled out somewhat by the fact that there's just about 1 million static defenses coming up as a bit of a panic response. Spybot detonated to shut off 2 of those Marauder, but it does still leave 5 of these Marauder headed towards the backline. And suddenly this line is completely exposed. The res bots here accidentally triggering those landmines. Not the end of the world, of course. Better that something relatively inexpensive rather than one of those T3 ends up tripping the landmines, but it is a little bit of a bummer. So the thing about the Marauder missiles is they don't do very much damage, but Marauders have enough HP to survive against these gunships long enough for the Marauder missiles to do their work anyways. So yeah, just like that, gunships have now been shut down. Medium tanks pushing through the midsection as well. The blue team with overwhelming aggressive plays here, aggression here. Managing to make it work. The D-gun to destroy the static defenses over here. I believe we're trying to shut down the next batch of Marauders, but it does mean the static defense has gone down here. Oh, what a cheeky bit of micro. Nicely done right there by the Green Commander. Dives in to think that the Marauder are going forward to trick the Red Commander into throwing the D-gun, hoping to land it on those Marauder, but they pulled back just in time and managed to snipe the second to last Commander here available for the Red team. Marauder's still in the backline, pulling apart this base right here for the Yellow Commander. T2 Mex is going down, and the Eco now solidly in the lead right now for the Blue team. Despite an overwhelming energy advantage because of those early fusion reactors for the Red team, it means nothing in the face of T3 units swarming across the map with their tremendous efficiency. There's not a whole lot you can do against them. Fiends trying their very best, but Marauder are pretty good. There we go. T2 defense is blasted down here as well. You really need to get those T3 units out in order to actually deal with Marauder properly. Karganeth, Shiva, Demons, all very, very good against Marauder. Static defenses, however, just too slow. Marauder are so fast, rather. It's basically impossible to have enough time to deal with Marauders effectively. Only the farthest reaching and hardest hitting static defenses can really do very much against Marauder, and even those fall short sometimes. Things like Starlights or Bulwarks, those sort of things. Tin Can's in a lot of trouble. And this is what I was talking about. The longer these T3 go on the field and fight against T2, the more and more efficient this is. And that is exactly what we're seeing right here. Shiva are out. Only 2 of them so far. We do have a third just barely rolling out of the laboratory at this point. As long as the Marauder don't group up, those Shiva cannons really don't do very much damage. It's the AoE damage that kills against the Shivas, and it looks like we are going to try and do our best to do splitties. Maybe not. AoE is hitting pretty hard right here for the Green Commander. Get a little cinema shot of these Marauder tearing apart the base of the Red Commander. A beautiful little run by right there. And indeed, overwhelming pressure through the midsection of the map. Leela and Inda Club managing to crack the defenses of the southern side while the blue line held strong against the yellow onslaught. It'll be our blue heroes who managed to take the victory in today's game of Beyond All Reason. What a beautiful match. What an excellent showcasing of what that high-level skill can look like and just how quickly we can get up to T3 in under 24 minutes. We're out of here with full-blown T3 spam. Thanks a ton for watching, and I sure hope you enjoyed. Inda Club winning the Golden Cow for doing everything, and I hope to see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.